Out of the frying pan and into the fire. Really sorry guys, uploaded a video about an hour or two ago, went to listen back to it, and what happened was I had a bit of an error halfway through with my memory and my phone, so I had to record the video in two parts and then pop them together. So I've done that, uploaded it to YouTube, finished my work, deleted the original single videos, if that makes sense. When I listened to the completed thing, and I'd put the two parts round the wrong way, so I had to delete that and remove it. And I'm basically just going to redo the video and touch on the main stuff. Now, what I also did is I did a bit of a recap on the match day that we just had. Me thinking I'd done everything I needed to. I've deleted the pictures that I had for the dividend winners and whatever. So unfortunately guys, I'm not going to go through that in too much detail, okay? Now there's three main things I want to bring up in this video and really have a chat to you about. The video will be called Market Analysis or something to that effect, because it's not really a match day review. I want to talk to you a bit more about the actual marketplace itself, okay? And we're going to start off with an older video that we did before that you'll be able to find in the reference points playlist, and it's called the Accardi effect, okay? So you can go and check that out whenever you get a spare couple of minutes. We'll be touching on the main things on it here, but these older videos, guys, the QV, Operation Coleman, Case File Ericsson, these things are always good things to, in my opinion, to go and have a wee look at, give you some food for thought on your trading tactics and how to balance your money out and whatever. But on Sunday we had an early kickoff, and the early kickoff, there was two or three of them, but we had a dividend winner out of it, which was Joanne Jordan, who also we hold, okay? Now, I'm going to start off by saying this is not going to be a by Joanne Jordan, let's spiel or anything, but what I'm trying to show you now is highlight is the Accardi effect, as we call it, okay? So what that basically is on a Sunday you've got a good potential for an early kickoff game to, number one, happen, and then there's a fair amount of historical evidence to show you that you can get great price movement on these early kickoffs on a Sunday if people play well and end up capturing IPDs and dividends off the back of it. So what's basically happened is Joanne Jordan's kicked off at 1 o'clock against Alaves. 2 seconds. He scored in the first half, it ended up being a 1-0 victory, but at half time, so before 2 o'clock, if you buy them on that day, you'll capture all dividends that are available for them, okay? So on that day, we had a bunch of people buying them before the 2 o'clock deadline, and any price really between 134 and 164 is really where people were buying them at, okay? So he's then went on, won dividends, that's great, whatever, right? Now, what we've now got here is a situation where we have, let's just say a pence is a percentage, right? So basically we've increased, no, sorry, I didn't explain that right. Let's say every pence is a person, right? So we've increased the amount of people, if we're thinking about it like that, by roughly 25% since he's captured dividends, right? All of those people have banked 8 pence per share back, okay? If we want to think of it, they've kind of bought themselves some cash back. So if you bought Joanne Jordan at 153, you were then instantly returned, if you bought before the 2 o'clock deadline, of course, 8 pence. So that would have gave you basically an outlay of 145, you know, so it puts you in a really safe position. Now what this has done, and what this will do for other players that we'll go on and talk about in a second to have this potentially coming up this weekend, is a really strong customer base now that really is going to hold his price up to a certain level, you know. Whenever you look at players' graphs, you'll see big slopes and spike upwards, and then you can see crashes and reverse movement and this type of thing. But what you'll always find, and another great example of this is the boy, everyone's favourite to talk about now, is our boy Haaland. Now, when he really spikes up, he scored a bunch of goals in the Champions League and he's looking really good, and he's still got another 5 Champions League games to go and another bunch of Euro qualifiers and the potential for a Man United link next year amongst the links to Leipzig or even someday like a big 6 European side, you know, because his records look so good now. But when an increase happens and it's off the back of people buying essentially cash back is the situation they're getting into an attractive position, then that really sets them off to be much more stable. When you have positions that skyrocket up and fall backwards and there's nothing really to give you any concrete evidence for why they're moving up and down, that's when you're really gambling on the index, guys, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at Sunday coming. I've already done this in the match day preview. If you're not checking out the previews, I highly recommend you do, because we're pretty much nailing the head with a lot of stuff, especially more recently, you know. So please go and check that out if you haven't done so already. It will definitely pay off for you. Maybe not this week, but definitely at some point. I'd probably say this week it probably will. So early kickoffs, we have 11:30 in Italy, which is a great time depending on what the scores are like and who does what. At Sassuolo, guys like Berardi and the team Defrel. A few attractive players in that squad index-wise kicking about, and Spal have started the season pretty strong. In Spain we have 2 early kickoffs. We have Getafe, who play Europa League football, at home in Mallorca, who have Kubo on loan, and then we have Sociedad, the Wonder Kids, in Espanyol. In the 1 o'clock kickoff, it was the 1 o'clock kickoff that Joan Jordan had last week when he went on and done this kind of thing. So we have 3 teams that are opening up the possibility for us for the Accardi effect, okay? So any of those players, whatever their price is at the now, let's just look at somebody like Odegaard, okay? So I like Odegaard a lot, right? So Odegaard has been up a lot in the last couple of weeks. He's won some dividends and he's got some good attention on the index and Twitter and all this kind of stuff as well, right? But the price is at the now, and you might look at Haaland as a good example of this. You might think, oh, I've missed the boat, I've missed the boat. If this guy goes on and you're able to basically buy a dividend winner on Sunday, for example, then it will really help crescendo and plateau his pricing for the next at least 30 days on all those people that are able to get that cash back, if you like, buy those dividends on them. And these are the sort of things, when you're reading the market, guys, you don't want to be following crowds as much as possible. You want to be ahead of time, okay? So these Sunday early kickoffs, the Accardi effect, it's a very real thing. We've seen it again this season already, and it's something that you should really be paying close attention to. Now, what I would say is it's always better for players you're eyeing up already, if you notice have an early Sunday kickoff, for you to get on them sooner rather than later. You can buy people for the sole intention of swinging them round and whatever, but you're then really relying on them pulling it out the bag on that Sunday, rather than just, it's a good opportunity to get on, they might do well, if not, I wanted to buy them anyway. And it'll, you know, that sort of thing. Now I want to have a wee quick glance over Sensei, okay? Now Sensei did really well, bought himself some, bagged himself, I beg your pardon, Starman dividend, did really well at the weekend. Now, he had that £2 barrier and said we have a backward movement since, okay? This isn't anything to really be worried about. Once somebody has Starman and does really well, when they've got all the stuff this guy's going for him, national team, Champions League, etc, etc, little backward movements in their price list, honestly, I would really not worry about it, because overall the guy has been very much on the increase. Now, what you do need to think about is who is buying this guy, number one. Why are they buying him, number two? And this isn't just Sensei. You could do this for De Bruyne, you could do this for Jordan, Sabitzer, any player in the index. This is always the way you should be thinking about it, is who's buying them and why, when you're making that assessment. Because it'll get to the point, guys, and this is the thing you really need to worry about, okay, is you buy somebody, they go on a massive rise and you just don't know when to sell. And then these are the conversations you need to be having with yourself, is right, okay, well, this guy's at 189 now, how far up can he really go, how long will that take, how much, you know, and these are the conversations you need to be having with yourself. When you get a situation like an Accardi effect that comes along, what it does is it really compounds and buys you a lot of time, because I know for almost fact, right, Joan Jordan could not win any more PB or MB or whatever for the next 30 days, but the bulk of this money that's went in to take him from 134 to 164 will remain for the next 30 days, almost guaranteed, because they've bought dividends, they've got reduced liability on him, and they're in a really strong position going forward. If he has one good match day, if he breaks into the Spain team, if he gets a link to Liverpool or something like that, you know, then his price will continue to rise and rise and rise. Personally, I think he's only one more PB win away from getting into that £2 area. But the point I'm making with this, guys, is if this guy just randomly shot up, maybe had a good PB score, it wasn't quite there, then it would be a totally different situation. And I actually had him in my diary for me to consider selling him a couple of days ago, just for, you know, when I think ahead and this type of thing as well. But I've stopped and I've looked at it and I've went, you know, this guy has a lot of built-in value. His value's not really going to go anywhere anytime soon, failing injury, of course, because there's enough people that have bought him and captured dividends that can let him run now for the rest of the season and have reduced liability, and the opportunity for him to win dividends is relatively attractive with what he's done so far. Big game against Real Madrid at the weekend, and we hope he does well, of course. Now, the second thing I wanted to have a quick chat to you about is the reason we normally do the match day reviews, which I'm not really going to be diving into now, is because of the fantasy football strategy that we run, okay? Now, if you're relatively new to the channel, There's a whole playlist you can go and check out. But I log every IPD, every dividend of that strategy bags. This is last season where we messed about, we learned, we made mistakes, we moved on, whatever. And in this season here, every week, guys, we're bagging in great dividend returns. And this doesn't include my Salzburg boys that bag me dividends. It doesn't include anyone else that we've had this season so far. This is just from 6 match days with the holds that we have. And you know, the pounds and pennies are nice, you know, but the percentages are pretty attractive. And when you look at the dividends overall that we have on the platform, we started the season, that dividends number was at 150. It's now at 180. Let's just call it 185 for easiness. You know, it's went up £35, which is over 20% in 6 weeks basically. You know, so this kind of strategy really does work when you use the right principles for it. And what I mean by that is I've got a video you can go back and we've detailed this in a lot more detail for you. But if you're looking to use a dividend based strategy, then it's good to, number one, spread your cards across the deck. You know, I don't even know if that's a saying, I've just made it up, but you've got some defenders, you've got some midfielders, you've got some strikers. You don't need to do it as a squad like I do. But I think that helps you, you know, cover your bases. That's the term I'm looking for. So that, you know, you've always got a dog in the fight. You've always got something that might win you something. This guy plays Europa League. This guy plays La Liga. This plays Champions League, internationals, whatever. And you diversify as much as you can. When you put yourself into that kind of situation, you really are then relying on football. And this is what Football Index is all about. As much as youth players and all that are exciting, guys like Odegaard and Haaland and Felix and Jota and all these guys are really attractive, and Florentino Luis and whatever, it's always going to be the best football players. And when you look at De Bruyne, that's basically what's happened to him, is the matrix has changed now to favour good football players, great football players, and this is where the market's moving. And now we've spoke about recently where the market's moving and why, but again, when I see a slope like this, I'm thinking, why is the money going into him? The dividends aside, right? Why is this money going in? What are people thinking? Where's people's end game? And for somebody like this, it's obviously Euros, latter stages of the Champions League. It's not transfer spec, it's not media, it's not anything speculative. It's much more, these things are likely, very likely to happen, and people want to have a slice of the pie when that does happen, you know. So again, it's just always about understanding who's buying who and why and how much time do you have on them, because the last thing you want to do is hold somebody too long. You get attached to looking at that and going, oh, I've made over 100%, and you hold on it too long, and then you think, oh, do you know what, maybe I should have sold them 2 weeks ago or a month ago, and this type of thing. But when we did the video, the QV, for example, one of the examples we did on the example video to show you how to work it was Odegaard, and it doesn't surprise me as soon as he's won a dividend or two that his price is really shot away, because his value, his QV is that's the way I kind of measure players. And there's a video again, you can go and check that out, called the QV. It's in that reference points playlist. It's how I really gauge how attractive somebody could be or should be on the index. And you need to take yourself away from PB analysis, right? PB analysis is fine and it works 3/4 of the time, right? But what I'm always doing, and I'll show you this if I can, 2 seconds. This is a picture I sent Connor from FI Manager, and you can see at the top the date, the time, and you can see my wee comment at the bottom. So I'm always looking, this is the week before he won any dividends. What I'm always looking at, rather than PBs and stuff like that, because they can be misleading at times, is I'm always looking at how are people actually playing. And now that I understand how the matrix works, what boxes are they ticking? They might be going to score the now. I think in this match he only scored something like 120 or something like that. But I'm looking at the stats and I'm thinking these things are all ticking the right boxes, and these are the players that I will then go on and buy. And to give you a slightly more recent example of this, and again guys, this is never for the point of, oh, I'm telling you should go buy this guy because he's amazing or whatever, right? But this is something that you should be doing, right? As I look at somebody and I think, right, okay, his PB score wasn't great. There's also players I watch and players I don't pay attention to, and they'll be the same for you, right? Haidara, Champions League the other night, he didn't play, he came on as a substitute for the injured Lamar, he didn't play the full game, his PBs wasn't amazing. But when I see passing stats like this, number one, I'm excited. And then when I see how bad some of these stats are, I think, you know what, there's a lot of room for improvement there. It's his first game back from injury, whatever. So I don't look at the PB stat and go, oh, his PB was crap, he's not playing well. But I look and go, do you know what, see the things that reward people and really bag dividends, those boxes are ticked. And then the things that you could put down to ring rust, he's not match fit, you know, he's not been playing football and doing these types of things, you know, duels won and lost, that's a big one there. Then these are the things I look at before I go a bit heavier into someone, or I will buy somebody or not buy someone, is the PB means one thing, and it just means how Football Index measured them on that day. But the actual what they'd done on that game day, what did they actually do? They did all these dribbles, they made all these passes. These are the things you need to take yourself away from, because PB analysis, if you're going historical, oh, this is, what did they do last season and that? Obviously the matrix has changed, so that only has a limited value now. But also, until really this time next year, with the matrix not having any further changes, you're very much learning every week whose PB is good and this and that. But see, as soon as you understand this is what earns people dividends, it's this type of passing stat, it's this frequency of matches, it's this frequency of minutes, it's these amount of shots on target, then what you're looking for is players that are almost ran but have the potential to actually go on and achieve these things, so take yourself out of Twitter, take yourself out of index gain, take yourself out of the kind of planet index, as I call it. Take a step back from it and just look at things from a neutral perspective. If you're going to be backing a fantasy football player, if you're going to be doing a goal scorer bet, if you're doing Football Manager, how would you look at things? You wouldn't look at their PB, you'd look at how many passes are they making, what are they doing, and these other things are much more valuable. And this is how you buy people when they're undervalued, because you see that they're doing the hard things that win good players dividends. Guys like Sensei, Brozovic, War, Jordan, De Bruyne. I'm using midfielders as an example because I'm a big midfielder guy now, Pjanic. And then when they do come, you're not surprised, you've bought them ahead of time, and other people are like, oh, I wish I'd realised this and that. And this is how you stay ahead, is understanding football statistics and then measuring that against PB winners. What do they have that they don't have? Well, that guy just completed 5 more tackles and his PB score was 180 rather than 110. And it might just, obviously the tackles alone don't just get you those stats, but by winning that tackle, he then has the ball, so he has an extra pass. And understanding that's how football works. If you win 5 more tackles, you then have possession 5 more times. If every 5 times that guy gets on the ball, he has 1 key chance created or 1 key pass is made. These things all have a snowball effect. Understanding these things and broaden what you look for when you buy somebody. Okay, guys. So, yeah, just a bit of market analysis, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new around here, like, share, subscribe, retweet, all that good stuff, guys. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.